goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, riding right up. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. I'm hard to make everything go fine. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, the reaction to Newcastle versus West Ham from last night. Right. Hello, darkness, my old friend. We're back. We're back in business. The roller coaster continues. But pretty used to that as Newcastle fans. Let's go around the house and say hello to everyone. Let's go to you first, Pete. Apart from the match, how are you?
Oh yeah, apart from the match, I'm grand. Yeah, all good. Back at work though, which is not great, but it is what it is. 3 weeks to Christmas. That's what I'm looking forward to. There's the silver lining. 3 weeks to Christmas. But yeah, other than that, not too bad. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, apart from the match, I'm very, very, very good. Busy evening as always. Boys, do you ever do that? Well, I'm saying it, I do this all the time. I finish work, I think it was 4:45, and I was like, loads of time here, all sorts. Get myself a little tea.
Half day.
Well, no, quarter five. I was logged on a little bit earlier this morning, but yeah, 4:45, and I'm thinking I've got loads of time. So the show's not live, so I've got loads of time. And then, as per usual, the time just goes like that. And then I'm rushing to get on, and Lisa always goes to me, "Why'd you leave everything to the last minute?" And I'm like, I don't know. But other than that, other than a little bit of a rush to be ready for tonight's show, I'm absolutely fine. And yeah, I'll be keeping one eye on on all the scores tonight as well. So, and everyone in the chat, any Champions League scores, please do update us. But yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. How about you, Dazzler?
Champions League. I remember that.
Yeah, what's that? What's that?
Actually, they made a message with the new format, the new league, and do we want to be in it? I don't even want to be in it now. But how am I? I'm okay. Yeah, I was saying to you yesterday that if we smashed West Ham, I wouldn't be able to join the reaction show because I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Didn't really have to worry about that though.
No.
But yeah, so busy day in the office. It kept going on loads of things. So have not touched really social media to see what's happening, so I'm missing all the good stuff, I'm sure. But yeah, apart from the match, all good. I like the way Pete pulled out 3 weeks to Christmas to try and lighten to bring us back up. We have to. This is the therapy session, isn't it? This is what we need to do. Yeah. I do actually. If people are really depressed, I do have a new outro that I put together, but it's like not suitable for this downbeat reaction show. So I don't think it's the time to do it. But I don't know.
Can we leave on a positive though? If we leave on a positive, which hopefully we will on tonight's show, maybe we could and that would maybe lift spirits. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with it, but
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Let's see. Let's see. Here we go.
We'll see.
Right. Okay. Let us get into this match. And let's start with the team news. Because, yes, as predicted, this was the what we said on away days. What we knew actually at the start of the international break, this would be the team news, barring any injuries. Kelly in for Byrne. The bench is well stacked now at this stage. We were like salivating at the bench actually before the game with Wilson and Trips back. And this was the West Ham side. As well, but we didn't think we're not going to have to worry about what West Ham have. Boy, were we wrong! And actually, first of all, as well, congratulations to West Ham. Fair play. They got their 3 points, and they kind of deserved it. I suppose. Lads, what did you make of the team?
To be expected. Look, result aside, performance aside, nobody would have been arguing that lineup. Nobody would have been arguing that lineup. So there's not for me. There's not really too much to be said. Like, it was what we expected with Kelly. Great to see Wilson and Trippier back, and you're looking at that bench, like you said, Daz, and you're thinking we've got more than enough to win this game. You know, even if we're not playing well, we've got those big hitters to bring off the bench, and you're bouncing into the game. I'm not going to lie, I was desperate for this game to come on Monday. I was so looking forward to it because I just thought we were going to see a really, really good performance from the boys.
Chris, anything that shocked you about that part? I think you were the one that said about the bench. You were like going mad about the bench.
Yeah. I mean, you boys nailed it, and I think it's fair. Like Pete's already said, you know, I think everybody was happy with that lineup. I think that's fair to say that consistently. I think it's the lineup we all expected. But yeah, I had one eye on the bench. I think, as I mentioned to you boys, and I was really happy. You know, a much improved bench from previous weeks, having Trippier on there, having Wilson on there, just favourite options. So I was really happy. But so yeah, no complaints. And I'll be honest, like you said, Daz, I didn't really give the West Ham lineup much consideration, if I'm honest. Although I did notice that obviously Paqueta and Bowen were starting, which was a bit of a bummer because we'd heard rumours that perhaps both were going to miss it. But either way, I wasn't really phased or worried, I'll be honest.
Before we get into the quick rundown of the match, I have a question for you, Pete. How is Dan Lawless? Because I saw they were doing on a Lawless Live, they were doing a live watch along, and I did go in and say it to Dan, and I think it was Jesse in work with him, and just said congratulations to them. Don't go too hard on us. But has he been in contact, Pete?
Yeah, I spoke to him. Like, to be fair, he's been all right with it. To be fair, like, he hasn't. There's been no gloating or anything like that, because I think his response at halftime in the game was, "How are we winning this?" That was his response at halftime. How are we winning this game? And he was kind of laughing. He was like, he couldn't believe it. And to be fair, spoke to him this morning on the way to work, and he said. You said, I never would have expected us to win that game, and in the way in which we did, surprised him. It actually surprised him. Like, I think it was more of a shock for him than anything else. So there's no gloating. They weren't great. They weren't. I think everybody can kind of admit that, but you could also argue that they didn't have to be. And ultimately, that game was pretty comfortable in the end. By the end of the game, and it should never have been. But that's not on West Ham. That's on us. That's on us.
Right, I'll fly through first half. There's not much point in going through into very high detail, but anyway, 2 minutes, early chance, Tino to Isaac. Isaac shoots over from shot is over and wide. Formats, ball in the net, Isaac, through ball and dink over the keeper from Isaac, ruled offside by VAR. Correct call, I think he was offside. And yeah, all agree.
Gorgeous finish, by the way. Gorgeous finish.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, I still went mental. It was only when I see the replay, I was like, yeah, he's off. But it's brilliant finish.
Yeah. 9 minutes. Here's the West Ham goal. Thomas Suchek, corner for West Ham, and Kelly on the marking, a bit laps on the marking there. He's given a free header. Byrne might have started out, but like, Byrne has his faults as well, and is known for an error. But what do you make of that West Ham goal, boys? 9 minutes.
Go on, Pete.
It was horrific. It was horrific the way we defended that, and quite embarrassing actually, for a couple of reasons. If I'm Eddie Howe, and I'd be confident that he would have had this conversation, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm looking at that West Ham team, and I'm seeing West Ham have got a corner. One thing I'm saying to them is Mark Soucek. Mark Soucek is the only one. He's the only one in that team that's capable of scoring a goal from a set piece like that. He's the only player. Only player. So the fact that not only do they find him, but they find him pretty much unmarked to be able to glance a header in like that is absolutely embarrassing. Like it's an embarrassing goal to concede. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when that hit the net. And then when it hit the net, the first thing that was thought is that, who scored that? And when I seen Soucek doing his celebration, I was like, how have we allowed that to happen? It's embarrassing. And then you watch the replay again from the view of the goal, and you look at Lloyd Kelly and you're like, oh my God, that defending is so bad. So bad. That's a guy that's in the shop window to prove himself is to be a starter. And you're doing that after the start that we had in that game. That is what turned the game. That moment turned the game. And I couldn't believe it when I saw that. It was absolutely horrific for a team that haven't conceded a set piece in 70 set pieces so far this season, 70 plus, I think it was. Haven't conceded one goal. And then to concede that as your first, that was bad. It was really, really bad.
Yeah. Chris, how was it for you?
Much of what Pete said. I seen the goal go in, obviously, and obviously saw Soucek doing his what is it? It's like a helicopter, isn't it? Like he spins around. And my first thought was, how has he been given, the opportunity or the space? And then when you watch it back, it's weird because Kelly goes up to him and then moves away from him. I'm thinking, you're giving him a run. You're giving him a chance to run and attack the ball. And if you're giving Soucek, who's a big lad, and as Pete said, one of, if not West Ham's most dangerous player at set pieces, you're giving him 3 or 4 yards to run and attack the ball. And as soon as he gets in the air, it's game over. You're not gonna stop him. So for Lloyd Kelly to do that, and the thing that got me, Pete, was the fact that he gets touch tight to him and then moves away from him. And I'm thinking, why are you moving away from him?
Honestly, as a centre back, you are told to get touch tight, as in touching, like pulling shirt tight, holding on tight.
Don't let him get the ball.
Because even if he does get the run, you've got to nudge him to take him off his flow, stop him from getting a clear head on the ball. Because even a little nudge, even a little getting close to him, even if he doesn't jump with Soucek, just get into him, stop him having a direct free header on goal. But he does it, like I said, he steps back. He allows him to do it. By the way, it's not the first time he does that in the game. It's not the last time he does that in the game.
Poor game, mate. Poor game.
Embarrassing, honestly. Like he goes to the back of the line after that. Honestly, like if that was his audition in that moment, right, that audition was doomed to fail from that point onwards. And I think he knew it. I think he knew it from that point, because from that point he was not good at all. Really poor. Up until that point, however, I thought he handled Antonio really well. And I know it was only early on. It was kind of like 10, 12 minutes, whatever it was. But I actually thought he handled Antonio really well, big and physical. That moment spun his head. And I'm kind of being kind to him here. I'm giving him an out. That goal and his mistake spun his head, because after that, he was an embarrassment. What about you, Dan?
Look, we were on top, and I was expecting a bit of a goal fest. Then after we were so on top up until that, and it just was a complete shock then. And then it did shock us as well for a while. I wrote down here because I'll continue on a bit, but like 40 minutes, Willock shot. But yeah, wide. Then again, we did look a bit shaky after that goal. But then they started to get their momentum back, and maybe they'll kick on. This has happened before, as we saw face to face there last season, and they'll get into it. But 28 minutes, Longstaff header, but not enough power. Double chance. Gordon after a fumble in the box from West Ham, and then a Willock volley was blocked. Then 39 minutes. Bruno after winning the ball back to Isak. A great, lovely pass to Isak, and that control from Isak and the volley, absolutely class. It would have been goal of the season or up there contender, but yeah. Did it go wide over the bar? I can't remember where it went actually,
wide.
But
it went wide.
Yeah, wide. But for me, that first half as a whole, Newcastle were the better side. They had multiple chances. They put West Ham under pressure, but just so frustrating. But I was still fairly convinced that we're going to go on and get an early goal in that second half and win it. Well, that's to come. What's your thoughts on that first half as a whole?
Go on, Chris.
I mean, it wasn't great. I didn't feel like we played horrendously. I've seen some people criticizing Eddie Howe because Eddie Howe's come out, hasn't he, and gone the first 60 minutes we were pretty good. Last half an hour not so great. I wouldn't say we were really good in that first half, but the first half was a major upgrade on the second half. That is clear to see for me. It did remind me, and I've seen a few people say this as well, it did remind me a little bit of the Brighton game, and that it just felt like, we didn't get started. But like you, Daz, I was in, I still felt an early goal in the second half would change things. I did think, we're still in this, we can come back. I think I put to you in the chat, didn't I, boys, saying, for me, I would take Willock off and I'd bring Barnes on, which is exactly what he did. We'll talk about what happened after that, but I felt like there was more to come, and I was expecting a big second half performance. It wasn't a catastrophe. It wasn't the worst in the world. It was just, I just felt like, hopefully we could make things click in the second half. I still had hope, put it that way. I didn't think, it was a game over job. It was frustrating. But yeah, I still had hope. We've played far better this season, but I thought second half that we would be better as well. I thought we'd follow it up with a more commanding performance, and I did think that the change in bringing Willock off and bringing Barnes on would improve things. But unfortunately, I wasn't really correct when I predicted that. But yeah, I still harboured a lot of hope going into that second half.
Well, we were clearly the better side in the first half. We just didn't take our chances. I have to say though, although I wasn't massively worried at halftime, because it did remind me a little bit of Forest. We had a lot of the chances. We were 1-0 down, and I thought that there would be that second half boost. But what did concern me is the way in which we missed some of these chances. You talk about the Gordon chance. The Gordon chance is gilt edge in the first half. It was a gilt edge chance. It's a poor finish from him. And I'll come on to Gordon later, because I'm not going to lie, I'm concerned about him. I really am. But it was a poor finish from him. He has to score that. There's one on the edge of the box from Willock, unopposed, and he puts that wide. He's got to hit the target there. He has to hit the target. Yeah. The one from Isak, probably less so. It's great control, as you mentioned, Daz. And then he hits it on the sort of half volley with his left foot, and it just goes wide. That one's a little bit unlucky. He had to control it first. I think he wanted to take it first time, but that was unlucky. But the final ball is a big concern for me, and the first half really proved it. There were some good deliveries. I think Lewis Hall had a brilliant delivery that split the defence right across goal, and nobody's there. Yeah. Some of the crosses into the box are barely beating the first man, or there's no one in the box even contesting some of these balls that are going in. It's just final passes not quite there. Isak making some decent runs and not being given the ball. And you can see his obvious frustration. His hands are up in the air, like, why are you not giving it me? It's not working at the moment. In the final third, it's been off. And I'm not just talking about last night. I'm talking about this season. And I think, everything that we're seeing kind of reflects that. Something's not right in that attacking third. Either they've not synced up and they've not got an understanding, or it might be something else, and I just can't put my finger on it. But that was the thing that really frustrated me, is the final ball. But I still felt there was a chance that we could get back into this game, like I say, a bit like Forest. And so I did have some hope coming into that second half.
Yeah. Okay, I'll carry on with this, and we can go into detail on a few different things then. So that's it, because this second half is just desperate. Because what we were waiting for and what we were expecting, it just did not come at all. As you said, Chris, the change came though. A Willock off, Barnes on. That pushed J7 back into midfield, but still sticking with the 4-3-3. But it was like wave after wave of Newcastle attack then for the first little while. And Gordon had a shot that trickled wide in 51 minutes. But then 53 minutes, Wan-Bissaka scores. Paqueta wins the ball back from Bruno, intercepts him onto Bowen. Bowen, through ball for Wan-Bissaka, who just wandered, just was allowed to wander up, and no one marking him. I don't know who was meant to be tracking him there. Was it J7? Was it? I don't know. It was just all over the place. But 2-0 West Ham, and then because he just going to smash it in off the post. Excellent goal for them, but diabolical defending from us. Thoughts?
It's just awful, absolutely awful. Talk about getting sucked in. I've watched it back a couple of times. I just cannot believe nobody's tracked Wan-Bissaka at all. He just ghosts into the box, and it's weird because I think it was the way the camera angle was. I think it was Bowen who had the ball, and you seen Wan-Bissaka, like in the corner of the shot, just coming into the box, and it's like, sorry, who's got him? And then he just plays a very, very simple ball because Bowen's just holding the ball up. He sucks two players in, and then Bowen just passes it straight to Wan-Bissaka. And again, the shot, it wasn't a great shot. And I'm maybe I'm harsh here, boys, but I'm expecting Nick Pope to do better. I'm not here to bash Nick Pope, by the way, because he should never have been put in that position. It's far too easy. The fact that nobody's tracking Wan-Bissaka. Jared Bowen has got two players on him, and no one really makes a tackle on him. They both stood off him a little bit. Jared Bowen was fantastic, by the way. So whether or not they were a bit cautious as to going in on him, so they didn't look stupid in case he took the ball around them, I don't know. But either someone needs to put a tackle in, someone needs to be tracking Wan-Bissaka, who, as I say, just goes into the box, and then the shot. It's like, I don't know. Should Nick Pope be getting beat from that angle? I would argue not. It wasn't a great shot. He didn't have a lot of pace and power on it. Just a catalogue of errors, really. And it was horrible because as soon as it went 2-0, I knew it was done. I knew it weirdly. I just knew it was done. Because from what I'd seen the previous 52, 53 minutes, I kind of knew it wasn't going to be our night. But it's such a poor goal to concede. It just showed a complete lack of organisation, of awareness. It was a horrible goal to concede, and when you've got Wan-Bissaka just traipsing into the area with nobody anywhere near him, it's just poor. It's really, really poor.
Pete, would you? I personally wouldn't pin an awful lot of the blame on Popey there, because Wan-Bissaka shouldn't be anywhere near there without someone tracking him. He's just put no one anywhere near him. But your thoughts on that goal, Pete?
You guys might not blame Pope for that, but I do. I think he was shocking. I think it's awful goalkeeping from Nick Pope. I really do. Nick Pope should be saving that. There's no doubt about it.
There's not a lot of pace on it, Pete. There's really not a lot of pace on it.
It's a dreadful shot. It's an absolute dreadful shot. A shot of a right back Let's be honest. It's a shot of a right back. It's not a shot that's hit with power or with any sort of quality. You know what annoys me about it is that Pope just flops to the ground. There's no attempt to actually save it. He just kind of drops. And the annoying thing about it is that's all Pope had to do. He had one job in the game. I don't blame him for the first goal, Souček. He had no chance with that one. No chance. And he really hardly ever had anything to do. Even after that goal, a couple of routine saves right down the middle. He had really nothing else to do. He had one job in the game, is to make that save. And he doesn't. He just flops to the ground. It's poor. And he has these moments, and it's so frustrating. It's not even about his distribution, Aaron. His distribution didn't cost us the game, potentially. This goalkeeping did. Because being 2-0 down completely deflated the team. Whatever was left is in hope had gone in that 53rd minute or 52nd minute, whenever they scored. All hope was gone at that point. I think most of the players knew at that point they weren't getting back into the game. I felt it as a fan. I thought, there's no way we're getting back into this game. There's just no way. And I hate feeling like that, but I just didn't see a way that we were going to get back into this game. I just didn't. The players looked completely deflated. And that has to be saved. He's not the only one responsible for it, though.
No, he can't be the only one responsible. He's been allowed to wander.
Yeah, he's not.
Like Pope's last man, 50-50 on a shot coming in. Like it could have been a power shot, and he could have saved it. But I haven't watched the final ball going in again because I was just so pissed off. But it's the tracking that pisses me off the most.
There's a calamity of errors there. First of all, the ball gets played long, and Souček has 5-10 yards around him to win that ball free header without being contested. How is that midfield allowing that to happen? How is he first being able to contest that ball? The ball, he heads it to nobody. It comes back. It falls to Bruno Guimaraes. Bruno Guimaraes, not for the first time, by the way, gets dispossessed easily in midfield because he takes too long on the ball. Okay, it happens to it's starting to happen. It's starting to creep in to his game. Again, don't necessarily blame him for that. He had his back almost his back to the attacking play when he receives the ball, and they do come in relatively quickly and nick it from him. But it's becoming a reoccurring theme that he is taking too long on the ball, and the ball is getting nicked from him. Yeah. So Paqueta wins that ball. Then when they're on the attack at that point, okay, Wan-Bissaka is able to just drift into the box unopposed. Nobody tracking him, nobody marking him. There's people that are saying, and you can't see it from the camera angle, that Joe Linton was the one that was running with him and then stopped. If that's the case, that is absolutely shocking from Joe Linton, and he needs to be called out on that. But my issue as well with this is the situation with Jarrod Bowen. You had Hall and you had Longstaff there to kind of shepherd him away. All game, if you watched Jarrod Bowen, we were walking on eggshells every time he ran with the ball.
Everywhere.
We were absolutely shit scared of him. And at times we didn't need to be, but we gave him way too much respect. He should have been crunched into a tackle at that point, given a foul away, whatever it is, to not let him ghost into that position to be able to play that ball. And you know what? He didn't even have to try. That little ball in between both of those two players. It was like they weren't even there. How have they allowed that to happen? But the run from Longstaff, it's so poor. And Longstaff's I think the reason why Longstaff's getting stick is because when he's running to double up with Lewis Hall, you watch him. He looks like he can't be arsed. He looks half-hearted. He's just lumbering towards the board. He's not running with any intent. I'm sorry. It's 53 minutes into the game. You've just started the second half. You should be bang at it. Bang at it. Not.
And he's been off for 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is not 89th minute where you ran yourself into the ground tired running. This is laboured, not really overly bothered about the tracking back element to it. And that should not be happening. So the way in which Bowen plays the ball through, so simply, and unopposed. There's just a calamity of errors there that have caused that goal. And every single one of those moments, had they been dealt with properly, would have resulted in no goal and us going back on the attack again. And it's these moments that are costing us. We don't get those moments. This is the frustrating thing. We don't get those moments as Newcastle fans where those type of things fall into our lap. They don't happen for us, but they seem to always happen for other teams, and we seem to always gift them these opportunities. You go back to the Brighton goal, exactly the same. You go back to the Nottingham Forest goal with the Elanga in and Murillo because steps out of position. Why are we not getting these goals? We're not getting these goals, but we're gifting them to other teams. There's something not right there. There is something not right there. And there's a calamity of errors for that second goal. And you looked at the players when that ball went into the net, they looked defeated at that point. And we're 53 minutes in. And if I'm looking at them defeated, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we're not getting back into this game at all. And it just had Brighton written all over it again. Exactly.
Well, Pete, you did point out that Christmas is 3 weeks away, so hopefully in the next couple of games, the gift of giving is reciprocated for a lot of the teams we're going to face coming up with Palace. Do we want to talk any more about the goal? I can't remember if you do you want to say anything else, Chris, before I move on? So
no, I just very, very disappointed. Very, very disappointed because it was such. I think Pete hit the nail on the head when he said it was such an easy goal, wasn't it? Because if you think about it, Wan-Bissaka's ran in unopposed. Bowen has had two players on him, puts it through the middle of them straight to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka then hits a pretty lame, I think it's fair to say, a pretty lame shot, and Pope dives to the floor. And do you know what though? He's not even anywhere near it. He's nowhere near it, and you think how? How's it creeped into the far corner, hit the post and gone in? Pope, I get that you're meant to protect your near post, and somebody in the chat said it. I get you're meant to protect your near post, but the positioning, it's just all wrong. It's as if he doesn't know where he is, and then he thinks, oh, I'll hit the deck. He's nowhere near the ball. He's nowhere near it. So, I do take the point, Daz, that a lot has happened which led up to it. A lot. And that can't go unspoken about, but it goes back, doesn't it, boys, to what we've said previously. Nick Pope is a good goalkeeper. I'm not saying he's not a good goalkeeper, but he has these moments where you expect more of a Premier League goalkeeper, and you just do. You just do. A lot of Premier League goalkeepers would save that, and it wouldn't even if the keepers did save it, you wouldn't go, oh, what a brilliant save. You'd just be like, yeah, expected that. That's what he should be doing. And it's just so frustrating. Really, really is.
It's like Lord of the Rings and that meme about I'm going on an adventure. What? Where was Wan-Bissaka? He was just gone.
Yeah.
And no one. I was like,
no one's following him.
Yeah,
and then Bowen looks up and goes, "Oh, do you know what? I might pass that to him. I'll just put it through the middle of the two lads who were just stood there looking at me."
You look at Bowen's reaction to when the ball hits the back of the net. He looks just as shocked as Wan-Bissaka does. He turns around to the bench. He's like, I can't believe it. We'd scored. Like, they could not believe that they'd scored a second goal. It was like the biggest shock for them. It was a shock for us. But they genuinely looked shocked as players on that pitch that they were 2-0 up at Newcastle. They genuinely did. That should ring some massive concerns there that we've allowed them, that were thinking that they were going to come here and get turned over, to be 2-0 up without really having to try very hard. That's, for me, that's a big concern.
Well, let's play it on, because a massive challenge then for Newcastle this stage is a switch to 4-4-2 with 56 minutes, Longstaff off, Tonali on. 64 minutes, Isak header, but he's stretching for a debate, it goes wide. 67 minutes, we stuck with the 4-4-2, but we put the correct personnel for a 4-4-2. Not saying that was the correct subs, but because J7 went off, Murphy on, who did nothing, Gordon off, who wasn't doing much all game, and Wilson back on the pitch. Yes, Wilson likes to score against West Ham. Maybe he can be our saviour at this stage. Well, 71 minutes, a penalty shout as Wilson is manhandled to the ground. VAR looked at it. The ref didn't give it. VAR looked at it. They said no penalty. That's a penalty. That's I think, but because it wasn't given on the pitch or the referee didn't, they just waved it on.
How's that not clear and obvious? Now, listen, let me just make this point. I'm not saying that's turned the game. I'm not saying that we deserve something out the game, because really we didn't. But that's a huge part in the game, and how the people in VAR can look at that and go, nah, it's not clear and obvious. No. Well, let's just go with what the ref says. Like, he's all over him. He's all over him. He's got an arm. He's behind him, and he's got an arm over his shoulder on his chest, holding him. And they don't say that he's being impeded, and that the referee's got that right. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's a penalty. It's a penalty all day. You look at the trajectory of the ball into the box. You look at the positioning of Callum Wilson. If that hand is not on around his shoulder, around his neck, Callum Wilson gets a clear jump and he gets enough height to be able to make a connection. I'm not saying he scores it, but I'm saying he gets a header on that ball that can put it towards goal. And that then makes it a goal scoring opportunity. So therefore, it's a penalty. The fact that his arm is on his shoulder and not around his neck means that he cannot get any height to jump up to get the ball. And so therefore, when he goes up and his arm's on his shoulder, that's why he then goes to ground, because he's not able to generate anything. It's a penalty. It's a penalty. The fact that it wasn't is a disgrace to both the referee, who had a clear view of it, and as well VAR, who had a look at it. The referees are absolutely shocking at the moment across the board, across the whole Premier League. They are so bad at the moment. They are almost, the referees are almost wanting VAR to ref the game for them. So they're not willing to make the big decisions themselves anymore. And this is why referees are getting so much stick. There are not many referees, probably one or two in the Premier League, that actually make their own decision and will go with their decision. And then VAR will either correct them or not on the back of that. Some of these refs now, the vast majority of Premier League, do not want to make a decision. They want VAR to make it for them, and I think it's an absolute joke. It's a penalty all day long. But to be fair, at this point, lads, I was already defeated in my mind. I did not think we were getting back into it. If we'd have got a penalty, I wouldn't have even been convinced that we'd score it. That's kind of how I felt in that game. That's how that game made me feel. It was like, okay, we get a penalty, we might score. Still don't think we're going to win the game, but it was kind of like, okay, it's not been given, we're going to lose anyway. And I shouldn't have to. I don't want to feel like that. I really don't want to feel like that, but that's kind of my mood at that period of time. So I didn't really give it that much thought, but it is a penalty.
No, I get what you're saying, Pete, because that's the way everyone felt about it. But I think though, if we had scored, the momentum would have, and the crowd would have brought it up another level. That's what normally happens, at least. But if what maybe it didn't happen, didn't bring on those gifts. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Quick question for you. It's a really good one from Claire. In your opinion, who would have took the penalty, Wilson or Isak? Bearing in mind that Isak's missed his last three.
Isak.
I would have had Wilson take it. I'd have had Wilson take it, and I think because Wilson won it, he'd have wanted to take it anyway. And so he probably would have pulled rank. But
who's our number one penalty taker? Is it Isak? Or is it Wilson?
Isak tends to take them. Isak tends to take them, but as Chris has said, he's missed the last few, so that should mean that someone else comes in line next. Now, I think if Wilson's on the pitch, Wilson should be next in line to take the penalty. But I don't know why I feel this way. But if there's anyone else on the pitch, if Wilson isn't on the pitch, I want Isak to take it. I've got a thing about a striker taking a penalty. I feel like a striker who is a natural born goal scorer should be taking our penalties. So you've got Gordon, who I'll come on to in a second. You've got Shaw, who his penalties make me nervous, but he's really good with them. But I don't feel as comfortable as with a defender taking a penalty that I do with an attacker. That's just that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm giving it to Isaac. Sorry, that's.
I wouldn't argue that either.
Yeah. It would have been interesting.
You can say, can't you, because he's missed his last 3. He wants to step up and take responsibility, get the duck off his back. I do get it. Like Isaac is the number 1 penalty taker, but then I also see. I mean, it would have been interesting had we got the penalty, wouldn't it, boys? It would have been interesting.
I think we'll only find out. We'll only find out if we're behind in a game or level in the game, and we have both strikers on the pitch. That's when we'll only find out that answer. Who between the two of them, who is
we will.
number 1 in the penthouse.
I think it'll be a case of who wins it. I think if either one of them win it, they'll take it. I do think though that Wilson will be more bullish about wanting to take the penalty. So I do think that, like, he's very adamant. He wants to score goals. He wants to be the goal scorer, and I think he will be more forceful about it. Isaac may well go, all right, fair enough, you take it. He's very much more relaxed in that, but I don't care as long as they put it in the net. I ain't bothered.
Yeah. Anyway, the rounds up the summary. Bruno came off. Looked like he had some kind of an injury or hip issue, or when the trips came on, game over. Move on. Let's never talk about it again. But until we have to finish this off as well. All right, let's go to full time. Overall thoughts, lads.
Go on, Chris.
I mean, I said to you boys, didn't I? Like, I'll be dead honest, I've been dead down today over the performance and the results, if I'm honest. More so than what I can remember in previous times, really. I think the last time I felt like this was the PSG game where we were robbed and we conceded the penalty in the last minute. Even though that wasn't our fault, by the way, we were brilliant. Yeah, we were live. Yeah, you're right. But we were absolutely brilliant, and I felt robbed. I don't feel robbed today, but I'm just, I don't know. I was giving it large on my group chat with my mates, saying, watch us tonight, and I saw that fantastic, event from War Flags, for Isaac, and going into the game really confident. 3 fantastic wins, Alexander the Great, and with the big Isaac that looked a little bit like it looked a little bit like IKEA, but I loved it. I just went in really, really, really confident last night, boys. It didn't even enter my head that I didn't even contemplate a draw. I was thinking, how many we scoring here? That's, and I suppose the overriding feeling today is one of just mega disappointments, and I'm fed up. I'm fed up of us being so inconsistent. That's what's killing me at the moment, because I think Pete put it in a tweet earlier when I had a little look on X before, and I think you said, Pete, something along the lines of, I don't know what team we're going to get. And that's the frustration that you're absolutely spot on. It's like, we could go to Palace, we go to Selhurst Park at the weekends and play them off the pitch, and everyone will be like, yeah, we're back, we're great. And it's hard to fathom. And I'm going into this Palace game now very, very cautious, very, very, nervous, if you like, because you always struggle to see, where the next real good performances come from, even though a few weeks ago, we were playing fantastically well, and we had those 3 really big wins, 2 in the league, 1 in the cup. But I think as well, and I did purposely try and do this because I went on X early this morning and then promptly came off it, because as predicted, boys, I hate to recall a moment that I mentioned and said that I was right, and I think you boys agree with me, to be fair, when I said that these Eddie Howe rumours are not going to go away. And unfortunately, with performances like that, the drum's going to get banged even louder. I saw people today saying, he's not the man, he needs to go, we need to swap managers, and it's just, it's so draining, because we've been playing really, really well. Now, in isolation, and I think this is what we spoke about at the start, Pete, before the show began. In isolation, you can call out a performance, you can call out certain individuals, and I'm sure we'll get to that shortly. That's fine. But I think as a fan base, if we all collectively just start gunning for the manager, I just don't think it's the right thing to do. And I've said to you boys, I think of the three of us, I'm probably the one that's more questionable of how. But even today, that to me, that's not the answer. It's not the answer. But questions need to be asked, no doubt. And I think Eddie needs to, get the lads together, and I think he needs to really look at his tactics. He needs to get with the backroom staff and just say something's not right. I think I saw the stat earlier today, and someone in the chat tell me if I'm wrong, but is it something like we've scored six goals at home in the last 5 games, or is it the other way around? We've scored 5 goals at home in the last 6 games, something like that.
5 in the last 6, mate.
That's just not us, mate. That's just not us.
It's poor.
It's really, really poor. You're right. And there's so many players not standing up, and we're hearing stuff about new contracts. We're hearing about, people being unsettled. And it's just like, we heard a few weeks ago, didn't we, Eddie come out and say something quite bullish, quite defiant, like, do your talking on the pitch. And we're just not seeing that. So then, I do get why people question Eddie. I do understand that. But I just don't think that collectively gunning for them, if we draw or we lose, every single game is going to help things. I just don't. No. I know that there's people out there who want rid of him. I know there's people out there who will stand by him no matter what. And there's probably some people in the middle. I get that. But we've had 3 fantastic results in recent times. And then, yes, it was really bad. And I think the thing that upset me as well, which a lot of my red and blue mates have reminded me of today, is seeing how many people had left the ground on like the 75th minute. And I haven't seen that. For a long time. So that was
hang on a sec, Chris. There is a picture going around, and it's someone has put it out where like it's after the game where there's loads.
Oh yeah.
That's not
that one.
75 minutes. No.
It was obvious though. It was obvious though in the game from the 80th minute onwards. So when you got the view of the game. Like the bottom part of the East stand, you could see it was empty. You could see parts of the Gallagher was empty. The Leazers were starting to empty out. It was very, very noticeable for me.
And is that an alarm bell, Pete? Given that, particularly, you'll remember, boys, we were there last season, St James's Park. 3-1 down. I don't remember seeing anyone leaving. But is that kind of where we are at the moment? Is that how fans are feeling? Is that what that performance deserved? Did it deserve fans to just go, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I mean, we'll get into it shortly, I'm sure. But like that 4-4-2, boys, what was going on? What was it? You would think that we were playing this formation that nobody had ever heard of in their life. Like we went to 4-4-2 and it was as if they'd never played 4-4-2 in their life. And you think, so what have we been working on? Well, that was obviously, the backup plan or the plan C or whatever you want to call it. Why did they all look like they've never played that position in their lives? You'd think that we had like left backs playing centre forward, or we had goalkeepers playing centre midfield. They just all looked uncomfortable, all of them. And we had fresh legs on the pitch. And again, we'll talk about individuals, but Jacob Murphy's coming on at right wing, and he's putting these balls in the box, and they're not even beating the first man. And
that's not the first time that Jacob Murphy has come on. In the game I was at in the Spurs game, I remember vividly in the stadium. He was came on after about 8 or 9 minutes. I was saying, take him off again. He was that bad. When he came on, he's just
it's so bad.
It's shocking.
And I'm not having to go with Jacob Murphy because sometimes he can be.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He's just not at the level. He is a squad player of a squad player. Like that's the reality. Look, he's already done more than any Newcastle fan expected him to do in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Everyone would have been quite happy to see him go January 2021. Like they just would have. And the fact that he didn't, and he's come on and he's done the bits that he's done for Newcastle since, he's done way more than enough. He'll go whenever he does it, eventually leave with his head held high, and he'll get the respect of all the fans. But the reality, he's not good enough. When you bring Jacob Murphy on, you know you're either giving up the game or you're hoping for a miracle.
Last roll of the dice. That's what it is.
That's exactly what Jacob Murphy is like. I don't get mad by it now. Whether that's the right or wrong feeling of it, I don't get mad about when Jacob Murphy comes on or Miguel Almiron comes on. I don't get mad at them because I know, like, it's the same with Sean Longstaff to a point, because I know what I'm getting with them. I don't expect anything more. I don't expect, if we get anything more, major bonus, buzzing. I don't expect it. I don't expect them to come out and put worldy performances in. This is why I lauded Longstaff when I did against Arsenal, because I didn't expect that performance from him. But do I go and expect that again? No, I don't. Because they're just run-of-the-mill players. With all due respect to them, they're just run-of-the-mill players, and that's all they'll ever be. You won't see them punch any higher on a consistent level, and that's just the reality. It is, and I don't get mad by it. But I just, if we're expecting anything different, then I think we're expecting way too much. But you know, to answer your question about the fans, Chris, there's an argument to say it could be an alarm bell, but there's an argument to say that, you know, it was warranted, maybe isn't the right word, but it was within their rights as fans, because I'm at home in Leicester and I'm watching the game, and I knew very early on when that second goal went in, we weren't getting anything. I think that for a lot of Newcastle fans that are in that stadium, that paid their ticket, you know, on a cold Monday evening, that are sitting there at 80 minutes thinking, we ain't getting back in this game. They're well within their rights to go, you know what, I've seen enough, I'm off. And it should be a message to the players. It should be a message to the manager, and I really hope it is. I really hope it is. There was someone put something out there, because they still did their lap of appreciation to hardly any fans left. That should be a reminder that, you know, goodwill only gets you so far. Performances will continue that goodwill. Okay, Newcastle fans, we always say we need to get behind the lads. We need to give them the support. We need to, you know, do what we can. But the boys have got to do their part as well. They've got to put a performance in that's going to get the fans going. They've got to give us something that make us think, right, we need to get behind these because they're giving their all and they're playing really well, or whatever it is. It works both ways. So I'm not going to go mad on the fans for that. It's well within their rights. But there are question marks about the players. And
Pete, just before you move on, just a point that you've just made there, and it reminded me. I wasn't actually going to say it, but now you've said that, it's just reminded me of it. There was a point yesterday where Bruno made the tackle on the byline, and I don't know if you saw it, and he made this, you know, big lunging tackle, and it was a 2-0. And I think it must have been anywhere between 70, 80 minutes, maybe, something like that. It was towards the end of the game, big lunging tackle. And you're almost seeing him go to do his usual, come on. And you see in split second, he was just like, nah. It was as if he knew it's not going to land very well, this. Because I think he knew, and the players knew. Yeah, he and the players must have known, well, from a lot of the fans leaving early, you know, put on that fantastic spectacle at the start of the game. You know, no expense spared, war flags, absolutely fantastic. You know, showing all that love for Isaac, getting behind the lads, Monday night game, off the back of 3 fantastic results, and then it just peters out like that. It is really, really disappointing. Anyway, sorry, Pete. I don't know if you boys noticed that, but I seen it and I thought, that's not like Bruno, that. And I think that was the general vibe in the stadium, if I'm honest.
Yeah, he's definitely. I didn't see it personally. He's obviously read the room, and rightly so. Look, Bruno Guimaraes just needs to win the toss, for God's sake. Honestly,
You were fuming at kick-off for that, weren't you?
honestly, mate, it winds me up. It's winding me up. The fact that we're shooting at the Gallagher in the first half winds me up. You know, players have been coming to us for years and not winning the toss, and he ain't won. I don't even think he's won one yet. It's embarrassing. Honestly,
start smoking at this stage. Pass that over, Chris.
Honestly, I'd be giving Dan Burn the armband as we walk out onto the pitch, so he does the toss and then take the armband back to start the game. I genuinely would, because it has to be a concern now. And I think maybe the journalists asked Eddie Howe about this after the game, or they asked him about it after one game anyway, about the toss, and he kind of just played it down. But it is an issue. It's an issue. We should always be shooting down the hill in the second half. And that's
is he picking heads or tails? Does he get that?
I have no idea, but he is. I don't know what's going on, but it's becoming annoying now. And there was a question in the chat. You know, is there an issue with him being captain, that he's not winning the toss? That is it affecting his performances? Yeah, I don't know. I know I haven't got the answer to that question, but we just need to start winning the toss at home, because it is annoying me a lot. So, but to answer your Eddie Howe point, I always say it. Nobody's above criticism, no. And I do agree with you, and it was a point I was going to make. So I'm glad you touched on it with regards to the formation. I don't think I think the formation lands on Eddie Howe here, and I can see why he's done it, because he's tried to shoehorn in. It was almost he was shoehorning in the phase of, because he had Gordon and Isak as pretty much the front two before Gordon came off, and then Wilson came on, and then it was Wilson and Isak. So you could see what he was doing. He was trying to get it prepared to shoehorn Wilson in as part of that transition. But it didn't work, and the reason why it didn't work is that it opened up the midfield so much, and we were massively exploited. Joe Linton wasn't recovering as well as he could. Bruno wasn't recovering, and we already know that that's an issue. Their positionings and where they needed to play on the pitch was all over the place. It just became extremely messy. And then when you're having to put Lewis Hall into midfield, like, I'm sorry, he's a left back now. He's not a midfielder. But the fact that you're having to put him there to makeshift a Trippier and Livramento at left back, you know you've got a massive issue there. You know you're going for broke at that point. So the formation didn't work, and we need to find a better way to be able to shoehorn the likes of Wilson and Isak into this team. And this is the key thing. It's the shoehorning, because like I'm looking at these players. I'm sorry, boys. I'm looking at these players. These players let themselves down yesterday. They let themselves down. The manager, the formation change wasn't great, but he put a team out there that, you know, should have really picked up 3 points. He then made changes that none of us would have complained about. None of us would have complained about Harvey Barnes coming on at halftime. You even called it, Chris, okay, for Willett. Willett was shocking. He should have gone off, and rightly so. Injury? Nah. Willett would be playing on Saturday. There's no doubt about it. He ain't injured. He got a bad knock, yes, but he's not injured. Okay, they took him off because he was shit. It's as simple as that, and rightly so. So I'd had no qualms on Harvey Barnes coming on. I had no qualms on Tonali coming on. I had no qualms of Wilson coming on, but I don't judge him. I actually thought he played okay, to be fair. For the fact he hasn't played football in 5 months, I actually thought he put himself about really well, and he created some problems for their defenders, which we've missed, by the way, in that front line. So I would, regardless of how Wilson played, I wouldn't have held that against him, because he's not played for very long. And then Trippier coming on again, he's been out for 5 weeks or whatever. But none of those subs I would have been against. So it's not about the subs that I question Eddie Howe, just the formation. But those players, the way they've allowed West Ham to score those 2 goals, and the way they've allowed that game for the last 30, 35 minutes to just drift out without a whimper, that is on the players. I'm sorry. Like, we didn't even test Fabianski is a shocking goalkeeper. He's shocking. Go back to last season when we were there. When they had to swap Areola for Fabianski, we ended up winning the game off the back of that because he's that bad. We didn't test that man once.
No.
We didn't in that second half. 2-0 down. You should be expecting our boys to be throwing the kitchen sink. That's not on the manager. That's the boys going, we need to win this. Let's drive forward. Let's go for it. Where's the motivation? Where's the oomph from the players go, we need to get back in this game? I saw it a little bit from Wilson. I saw it a little bit at the beginning of the second half from Harvey Barnes. He actually started quite brightly for that 5, 6, 7 minutes before they scored and then just completely disappeared. I didn't see it from the boys I expected to see it from. And this goes into my other point. Alexander Isak, that night was for him. The flags, everything was built for him. I didn't see it. He didn't turn up. He did not turn up in that game. He missed a couple of chances in the first half, but I'm talking about the second half. When you want to get back in that game and you need to get back in that game, you go to your big-time players. And I'm talking about Isak. I'm talking about Gordon. I'm talking about Bruno. None of them turned up. There's a reason why Gordon gets subbed off early in the second half when there's still lots of time to play. Gordon was absolutely shocking yesterday. And I'm sorry, boys. People might not like this. Player of the season last season, fully deserved. Great season. He has been awful this season. He has been really, really poor this season. And I'm concerned about Gordon's performances. He's got his big-time contract. He's a big-time boy at Newcastle now. He's got paid the money off the back of that season. Now we need to see the performances. We need to see him play. He scored a goal for England. Great. He's had a couple of decent games for England. But ultimately, Newcastle's my priority. I need to see him playing well for Newcastle United. If you want the big-time money to be a big-time player, you got to step up. Now, I've seen that from Bruno. Bruno didn't do it yesterday, but I've seen that from Bruno over the 3 years. So I know he's got it in him. I've seen it at times from Isak last season. So I know I've got it in it. I know we've got it from Gordon as well. But if you're demanding bigger money and bigger wages, and it's the same with Isak, put your performances in that deserve those big wages. It's as simple as that. And especially when we need it. And we needed that yesterday, and they didn't turn up. And they had ample opportunity to do so. So that's my concern. And the fact is, Isak's done it so far this season and produced moments. I haven't seen that from Gordon, and it's a concern. Now, I said this to you boys in the summer, and I'll say it again. It's okay having one great season, which it was. But if you want to be a top player, you have to consistently do it. Yeah, exactly. And Miggy's was even a full season. It was like 7 or 8 games. Like, you know, you've got to do it season after season. If you want to be that big-time player, season after season, you have to put those performances in. And I'm not seeing it from Gordon at the moment. And you might not agree with me. There's an argument where he might have to ride the bench on Saturday. And we need to give someone else an opportunity if he doesn't step up. If he's not going to step up and put these performances in, I need goals. I need assists. I need him running at defenders. The guy just constantly cuts in on his right and just passes the ball backwards. I need him taking on a man. I need him going down his left and whipping a ball into the box. We had to put him on the right wing in order for him to put in a worldy cross for Isak that won us the game against Arsenal. On the right wing. Why am I not seeing that on the left? He had ample opportunity in the first half and he didn't do it. And this is not me hating on Gordon. Like he seems like a great guy, genuine guy, motivated guy. But I'm seeing that in interviews. I'm seeing that on videos. I'm not seeing it on the pitch. And that's where we need to see that. We need to see Anthony Gordon do that business on the pitch. We need to see our big-time players produce big-time moments if we want to be back in Europe again. And it has to start now. It has to start now.
I have 3 points I'm going to bring as well. Not necessarily on this game, but just in general. One, a bit of a myth buster. Having Sean Longstaff in the team, and I'm not blaming Sean Longstaff for anyone jumps, and it does not guarantee us winning the game. I would like to see J7 on the left, not on the right where he started against West Ham, and only then having Willock in midfield. Because for me, Willock Willock is not the same player when JS7 is not on the left. I want to see Bruno play if Bruno is fit to play. I want to see him play where Longstaff is playing, and I want to see Tonali in that centre defensive midfield spot. I want to see what that would entail. Bring Byrne back in as well, and keep the rest. I play Gordon, but I play him on the right. That's what I'd like to see against Palace. Then also these teams that sit back the low block. Now that we have Wilson back, I think we need to utilize him against teams like that. They're going to sit back. He will bully them, and then bring Isak on. I know it's crazy not starting Isak, but maybe you need to have a bit of that as well. Just to take a bit of the heat off Isak as well. So now that we have him, let's use it, especially when we're playing 2 games a week now as we're going into the Christmas period. That's point number 2. Point number 3, and this has been in my head since that Brighton game, and it's not a dig at Eddie Howe. I want Eddie Howe to stay, but we need. I think come the summer we've got massive decisions to make, and I think we're going to need a bit of a mini rebuild come the summer. I think at least one of our big name players needs to go to allow us that headroom in PSR. Anchoring when it comes in to allow us to build, because we're going to need a bit. If the season continues on this high low, we're going nowhere. Eddie Howe could still be the man to into next season and the season after that, but he has to allow Mitchell to cook and to trade. We need to trade, or else this is season after season we'll be in the same scenario, roller coaster. We need to take the hit for me. But again, I'll park that for the proper discussion on that come the summertime. But I think those are the 3 things I just want to say on Newcastle as we stand.
I'm in agreement with you, Daz.
I agree, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, on a lot of what you said. I do think, look, I'll be honest with you, I do think there'll be trading. We'll see trading in January. I think, Miguel Almiron for me is out the door. When you're losing 2-0 to West Ham and you don't even get on the pitch, and you're bringing Jacob Murphy on ahead of you, like that tells you everything you need to know. And the fact that we're hearing rumours now that he's unhappy with a lack of playing time suggests that he's either got the message now, a year after he should have got the initial message that his time's up at Newcastle United. His time's up. He needs to move on. And I think regardless of what we get for Miggy, and I don't want to put a figure on it because I'll probably be way wrong, but I genuinely think that Miggy will go and he will start off a chain of trading for Newcastle United. I think there may be two, maybe 3 players that will go. I'm not saying they're all first team players, but there'll be a couple that we traded off. But you're right, Daz. I do think a big hitter will leave in the summer for big money.
I think Eddie Howe, though, has to be willing to allow that to happen. That's the only thing there. And I think Claire put a comment in the chat earlier because I started because we do hold on to players for it was along that kind of lines. Yeah. Well, we keep players too long and then we're stuck with them and then no one wants to buy them. That's we said before as well on Miggy, and it's not just picking on Miggy here now, but we said after his brilliant season, now was the time to sell him. Yeah. That was because we knew that it was pretty much impossible that he could be as good again. So, but no.
2 things on that. What's been really interesting for me is that Eddie Howe is openly talking about player trading in his press conferences. He's never done it before. That tells me that I think he's got the message, and I think that will start to happen. Secondly, people might not like this. Hope it doesn't happen. But as I've said to you, I'm not convinced Eddie Howe is going to be here next season. I'm just not. And I said it to you boys in the summer, and I still maintain that. Like, regardless of what we do, whether we get European football or not, I'm not 100% convinced that Eddie Howe's going to be in next season. So he might not necessarily have the choice to make. So they're my kind of 2 caveats to what you said. But I agree with you on on those points. But you made a really good point about Joe Linton. He needs to play on the left.
He has to
You know, when I don't know if you noticed, boys, when they made the shift and Joe Linton went on the left, just at the back of the first half, that was the one time in that section of the game where Wan-Bissaka literally was tested. And he drove it in 2 or 3 times down that left-hand side.
Yeah.
He cut back in, or he went down the left, and he really made Wan-Bissaka have to defend. And he never had that for any other parts of the game. Maybe like a 5-minute spell when Barnes came on the left-hand side for the second half. After that, Wan-Bissaka was quite comfortable. Joe Linton is that direct left inside forward is our best option right now in terms of form, in terms of playing. And I'm sorry, if Gordon's not happy with playing on the right the bench, put Barnes there as an alternative. Yeah. I'm sorry, you do a job for the team. When you've got a lad like Joe Linton that's played pretty much all over the pitch and will do everything for the shirt, you play where you need to play for the team. I'm sick and tired of seeing Gordon run at a player, then cut it on his right, and then just pass it back to the midfield. I need to see end product from him. And as a striker, if I'm Isak, I need to know that I'm going to get the ball. I need to know that that ball's coming into the box. Or I've got a winger that's going to drive into the box like Joe Linton and try and whip it across goal or do something. I need something from him. So I agree with you. Gordon on the right, Joe Linton on the left. If Gordon ain't happy on the right, play Barnes, because I think Barnes would happily play there, although it's not his position, because it'll mean it'll be starting games. But we need to look at that. And again, doesn't it just heighten the need for a right winger?
And I think, are you guys in agreement that now that we've our run and our momentum has stopped, now we have to start Tonali? For me,
if you can't start Tonali now, £55 million Italian international. If you cannot start him now, when do you ever start him?
Yeah. What's the point in having him? Right. What was the point in waiting a year for him? You know? Yeah.
What do you think?
You can't. Yeah, I mean, do you know what, mate? Like, I whilst it wasn't broke, I was more than happy not to fix it. Yeah. Now that a window has opened up, you cannot have a 55, 56, 60 million, whatever he was, pound player on the bench who starts games for Italy and scoring goals, he's assisting goals, playing really, really well, and just have him on your bench. You just can't. He was brought in to make a difference, and it's up to Eddie Howe and his team to find a place for him in this starting 11, because you cannot tell me that Sandro Tonali cannot get in our midfield. You just can't, because it makes no sense. On his day, or certainly on paper, he's our best midfielder. So why is he not in the starting 11? Like, he has to be. And it should really be a case of, how do we get him in the team? What do we need to do to get him in this 11? We've seen him in the number 6 position, and arguably of the three, and when I say the three, I'm probably referring here to Bruno, Longstaff, and Tonali, who predominantly played the 6. I don't actually think Joe Linton's played the 6. He was been the best of the three playing in that role. And Daz mentioned earlier in one of his points, you know, he'd like to see Bruno in the number 8 in the Sean Longstaff position as he is now. Yeah. So just let Tonali do the sweeping up, you know, the player with fantastic technical ability who can actually get about the pitch really, really well. Let him sit in the number 6. Give Bruno a little bit more freedom. Get him to be the one who's, you know, dictating the play, because that's what he's good at. That's what he can do. And just say to Bruno, yeah, do you know what? Don't worry about tracking back. I've got this zone. Just stay there, and I'll give you the ball. And then you know, obviously you need to do something with it. And the thing is, that's what's concerning me a little bit. It's as if Eddie can't see a place in the team for Bruno unless it's in the 6. That's what's concerning me. He's reluctant to put him in that number 8. Now, Pete, you mentioned this a bit earlier on, you know, Bruno getting dispossessed. Whether that's his concern, I don't know. Because when Bruno gets dispossessed, it's game over. he's not recovering. As we've spoken about previously, if he loses the ball quite high off the pitch, whoever takes the ball off him, I mean, bless him. You see him busting a goal, and it's not through lack of effort, but he doesn't track back as quickly as possibly he should be able to, and that is a concern. But if that's the case, you need to find a way of going right. Maybe get Tonali to push up a bit closer to Bruno, so that if Bruno does get dispossessed or if Bruno loses the ball, Tonali's there to clean up, get possession back, give it. We don't need this big gap. We don't need a big gap in the midfield between the number 6 and the number 8, or the number 6 and the number 7, or whatever number you want to call it. The Willock position. You don't need you too high up and then have Tonali sitting. You can have the 3 of them rotating, but close. Have them close together so they're working as a unit. That's what you see the best teams doing. Man City's midfield, when you watch the game, they're all probably within about 10, 12 yards of each other. They all move together like a unit. That's what we need to do. And if that's how we get Bruno and Tonali working together, that's what we need to do.
And you need players that are comfortable on the ball in there. And this is part of the problem there. This is part of the problem last night, is that we effectively played into the hands of West Ham. We're a counter-attacking team. I'm quite happy to admit that. We are a counter-attacking team in the way that we are right now. But so are West Ham. And so are Forest, by the way. And this was part of the issue, is that we allowed Forest in the first half to counter-attack us because we had all the ball. And then in the second half, we went, no, you have the ball. You couldn't break us down. And we hit them on the counter-attack, and we ended up winning the game. What we didn't do against West Ham is do exactly what we did in the second half. Because what we did is we had all the ball and we attacked, and we tried to bang down the door, and we didn't. And West Ham went, pop, couple of counter-attacks, scored the goal, and then just sat in and went, we're winning now. You break us down. And we couldn't. And we went at them again in the second half, went at them, got caught on the counter-attack again, and the game was done. What we need to be very, very clear on, and this is Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe needs to be absolutely clear. This is the way we play. If we're going to be a counter-attacking team, we need to go to every team that we play against, have the ball. I want to see that on Saturday. To Palace, you have the ball, you try and break us down, and we'll catch you on the counter-attack. And that's the way we're going to beat Palace. That's the way that we're going to have to beat Palace. Because I can guarantee it. If we have all the ball against Palace, they're going to pop in and nick a goal off us. They're going to do it because other teams have done it this season. And so we need to be absolutely clear on our role and not allow teams to do that. And I just think if we're a team that if we're going to go into a game where we're going to demand and control a lot of possession, you have to have Sandro Tonali in that team. Joe Willock, for as good as his running is not technically good on the ball. Joe Linton, for as good as his running is not great technically with the ball. Hate to say it, Anthony Gordon, for as good as he is and as good as a runner he is not technically great on the ball. We've got players that are not. Tino Livramento, another one, a really good runner, good battler, good defender. But technically, when you want the ball in tight spaces and nice intricate passing, he's not that guy. Whereas Trippier is, Sandro Tonali is. Those guys are technically better players. If we're going to play a possession game, we have to have them on the pitch. Joe, will
exactly what you just said.
Yeah, but this is it. But this, boys, how many times have I said this to you about a year and a half ago? And a lot of people in the chat didn't like it when I said it. And it was around the time where we were linked with James Maddison. And it's it's another harsh conversation that we're going to have. It's what do we want? Do we want a team full of triers? A team that are going to run into the ground and just sprint all day for you up and down the pitch and not have any technical ability? Or do you want a team where we're actually going to control possession and we've got players that can break the lines and play those little intricate passes and nick you a goal with their technical ability, a nice free kick or a nice whipped ball into the top corner because technically they're very good. A little bit like Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes isn't a runner. You don't see him defending and tracking back. But what he can do, if given the opportunity, is win you a game. And he's proven that for the short amount of games he's played for Newcastle, he's proven that on numerous occasions he can do it. But it's a case of, what do you want as a Newcastle player? We can have a balance, but then you've got to have a style of play that suits that balance, and we don't currently have that. And it's like, this is the thing. Like, if we'd have had a technically gifted player that can break the lines further up the pitch, we'd have probably gone on to win that game. We'd have probably gone 1-0, 2-0 up, and been comfortable in it. But it's about what we want as a fan base. What do we want? Do we want runners, hard triers across the whole 11? Or do we want to have that little sprinkle of quality that they might not run all day for you back and defend and track and do all that good hard work, but they're going to do the business at the other end of the pitch. It's the tough conversation that we're going to keep having until we eventually get those players, because until we get those players, we're going to have games like this, and it's going to be frustrating as hell for all of us.
That yellow light behind me that's just gone, that was for a light bulb moment, an idea that I have there, right? So we can't do anything about the past and yesterday's game, but we can do something about the future. And looking at that particular set of skills that you've outlined there, Pete, for our right winger, right winger, like we keep talking about a right winger. Is it like, does it narrow the field, the type of player we're looking for? A right winger that can do the kind of Maddison kind of role, that kind of a specialized skill set that can be a kind of number 10, and again tick a few boxes for Eddie? Or is it all out speed merchant right winger that we need? Or is it that person that can, in the situations where the teams are sitting back, low block, and we need someone that can has that little ability to unlock that we don't have today? Or we have Bruno, who's playing as a centre defensive midfielder, is too far back. Is that the kind of player we should be going for January / even in the summer if we don't get someone in January? Or is it a speed merchant?
You know my answer to that.
James Maddison. What was your answer there 2 years ago?
James Maddison's gone, and he's been very indifferent at Tottenham. But what you saw against Man City is what James Maddison can do on his day, and he's a line breaker. But I'm not on about James Maddison. Honestly, and to be fair, Graham Bailey brought him to the table when we had that conversation. I'd be seriously looking at Arda Güler on loan from Real Madrid. If they were able to let him go, I'd be getting him on loan at Newcastle United. He's a line breaker. He's a young lad, but he's got so much technical ability. Someone's put Dani Olmo. He's already at Barca now. He's long gone. But it's a tough one. It's a real tough one, because there's players out there that are either good at one or good at the other. The only one I'll say is good at both. Is he the only one? I'll give you an example of someone that can do both. He's probably not the only one. Brian Mboma. He can do both. Technically excellent, but he's rapid. He's a guy that can come in and do both.
That's why I see Arsenal linked with him now. So,
well, this is the thing.
Saka.
Chelsea and Tottenham are now linked with Mark Gay for January. This is the thing, like this is going to be an interesting month. This is going to be a really interesting month, because I just think it's we might not get the players that we expect, but we might still be happy. Who knows?
We take some questions, lads, because I'm not looking at the table. I have it in front of me, but I'm not looking at it. I see the Forest are still ahead of us, so not. It's very close. It's still. We're only a point off sixth spot. Tottenham are in sixth on 19. We're on 18, so it's still all bunched. So,
yeah. And again, if we're trying to look at the positive, as frustrating and annoying as last night's result was, it's not had a huge impact on the league. It's just the fact that it very much feels like a missed opportunity, which I'm sure everybody in the chat feels like, and no doubt you boys feel like that as well. That's the more frustrating thing, because look where we could have been, kind of thing. We've kind of touched on this already, but I'm going to bring it up. Lee Jones says, does it concern you that Howe still doesn't seem to know his best midfield, and why doesn't Tonali start? So I know we've spoken about, trying to get Tonali into the starting 11, boys, but is that a major concern for you at this point, that Howe still doesn't seem to know his best midfield, or do you think he does know his best midfield? Do you think Louis Miley's going to get a look in? Do you think it's going to be more of the same at the weekend? Do you think Tonali's going to start? I mean, we're not trying to spoil away days here, but do you expect much changes for the midfield? Is what I'm saying.
I've already said that what I do, and I'd like to see, because anytime we've had Joelinton, Tonali, and Bruno, is that three. It hasn't been in this how I described it. I don't think that really works the way that we've had before, or we don't have enough time and a preseason properly to test it out either. So yeah, I'd go with Tonali, central defensive midfielder, Bruno where Longstaff is, Willock where he's been playing, but Joelinton has to be on the left, or else the Willock, or else it doesn't really work with Willock. And Gord then automatically has to go on the right. So that's what I do. But
Pete,
see what Eddie does.
I won't be considering Joelinton as a midfield 3 anymore. I'd be considering it as a left winger, a left of a forward 3. And I agree with Daz. Why not try Sandro Tonali as that deep lying playmaker? Why not try Bruno as in Sean Longstaff's position to be able to affect the game further forward? And we all know what Joe Willock can do alongside Joelinton on that left. So that would be my go-to for sure.
That's the team sorted, so nearly for away days.
yeah. Little preview there. Where do I go next? I won't ask you this question. I'll just throw it at you just as a comment. So Adam says, if Howe doesn't finish in the European place and fails to win us a trophy, he will be sacked. Simple as that. Rich Joblin says, also the atmosphere was so flat. I was in the Leazes end. So again, we kind of touched on what happened towards the end of the game with a lot of fans leaving, but just thought it was important to put up what Rich said then.
We haven't had a Monday night game for a long time. No. And actually, no, a bit around to that. And I know you put a tweet out about it, Pete. An hour and a half build up to the game. It wasn't a build up to our game. It was a build up to everything else. They barely mentioned our game. I remember because I fast forward because I came to the party behind, so I fast forward and an hour just stopped at the Newcastle bit because I couldn't be arsed listening to any of the rest of it. But just.
It's to be expected these days, unfortunately, mate. Yeah. I mean, we spoke about it briefly, didn't we? That we kind of knew that was what was going to happen, and it did. But yeah, unfortunately, it's the same.
Half an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. Again, you know what, Peter? I'm going to ask this question, and this is no offense to you, by the way, Peter, but I didn't want to ask the boys this question, but it's a very good one, so that's why I'm going to pop it on. But Peter McCardle says, if we lose to Palace, do you think Eddie is under pressure with Liverpool to come? It's a question we've got to ask, isn't it? And it feels off the back of a poor performance. It feels like this little thing is on Eddie's shoulder and it's always round the corner. No. But is that genuinely how you boys see it?
No, for me, Eddie is here till the summer. End of. No matter, even if he was to lose both those games, he's still here till the summer. And after when the summer comes, or even before the summer. I'll make my judgment on what I want to happen then. But at the moment, I'm still all in on Eddie. But we should not be losing against Palace. I know we're away, but we need to come out with a performance now after yesterday.
Do you agree with that, Pete? Is that where you are?
Yeah, look, Eddie Howe's not worrying for his job. Look, I think it's a really bad defeat. It's a bad defeat because it's the second time that we've had an opportunity to really be in a real prominent position in the league, and we've screwed it up. Remember the Fulham game? We win that, we go top.
Second,
You know,
top, was it?
Yeah, we go top if we win that game against Fulham. I think with Brighton, I think we would have gone up to a certain position within the top 6. We had the opportunity to go into the top 6 against last night, and we've fumbled every opportunity that we've had. So that's why it's so frustrating. The only thing that helps in this situation is every team's beating every team. There's no guarantee. It could well be that on Saturday we beat Palace and other teams around us lose because they play each other, and then all of a sudden it still looks nice and rosy again. Like that's the only thing that's kind of given me a sense of positivity out of this loss, other than Callum Wilson being back. But is the fact that the league's so tight that although we lost, it isn't necessarily the end of the world if we go and beat Palace. And we're going to a ground that we're not great at. But these boys have got to be ready on Saturday. If they go and beat Palace on Saturday and we take the 3 points, I think every Newcastle fan will feel a little bit more relaxed about the situation. But for me, the game against Liverpool is up in the air. I think anything's possible. Anything's possible in that game.
Yeah. Again, this is just a comment from Duncan Anderson. He says, if Tonali doesn't start against Palace, then sadly I'm in the Eddie Howe camp. And to be fair, Duncan, I think a lot of people probably feel that way. Quite cutthroat, but again, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I think you're not alone. You're not alone, mate. A lot of people do feel that way. It's an interesting one. Another one from Lee Jones. Do we need to replace Bruno as captain? Now, it sounds very, tossing of coins to one side. Is that a realistic thing? Do you think? I mean, me personally, I'll start off. I don't think it's going to happen. Regardless, I just don't see it happening because I think it sends the wrong message if it does. But given the opportunity, and if there was no comeback, and if it was more accepted these days for captains to swap and change, would you change the captain if it meant there was no impact?
I don't really. I'd stick with it, to tell you the truth, to give the ref a two-headed coin that he can win the toss with. But no, I think that's, again, it's probably a bit of a myth, because I'll stick with Bruno as captain. Maybe in the summer, but for now, stick with Bruno as captain.
Yeah, the only way Bruno doesn't become captain is when he's eventually sold. That's the way that I see it, and that could well be next summer. So, yeah, that's the only way that I see the captaincy being changed. Look, as I've said to you boys before, he just needs to win a fucking toss because it's doing my head in. It's doing my head in. Liverpool next Wednesday, you better win that toss, Bruno. Please. So all I'm asking from you. Win the toss.
This comment, I wanted to flash this up because Dave's been a member for 15 months.
Dave.
Thank you very much for the support, Dave. Dave says, agreed as sell a top player and build a squad. Now I'm gonna pop onto the next question, which is in relation to that, from Claire G. And she says, now saying we need to sell to buy in January when we barely spent in the summer. How are you boys having that? Are you believing it?
Bullshit.
A lot of smoke. Yeah. Is that what you are?
Look, we've got. Sorry, go on, Daz. Go on, Daz.
No, that's not Claire. That's the rumor that's going around.
Bullshit, Claire.
What are you talking about, Claire? It's just, the first time I heard that, I just started laughing because it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And just going back to what Dave said, I'm not saying I want us to sell someone, but I think we're going to have to just to unlock us and stop this this complete roller coaster we're on the whole time. And who knows, we could still be on that roller coaster, but we need to freshen it up, and we need to do something different. It may come to a stage where we're just getting a bit stale. And there's a number of different variables that they may need to change. But let's get to the summer before that happens. And if we're not in Europe, then we definitely have to sell out someone anyway. They're not going to some of them won't want to hang around.
Do you know what? It's a fantastic point, Daz. Pete, sorry if you were going to touch on this, but it's a really good point that you make. It could well be out of our hands, because if we don't get Europe, it may not be, we don't want to sell anyone. It may be, well, we've actually got to sell 1 or 2 players, because the players themselves will go, I'm done now. Yeah. I want to go and play European football. Anyway, go on, Pete. Give us your feeling on this one.
No, I agree with that. We've got to be playing. Minimum expectation is European football. Regardless of my thoughts on it, if we don't get European football, we lose our top players and our manager. It's as simple as that. But what I will say about the financial situation is that I think we've got money there. I think a few journalists have touched on it, that we have got money to spend, but it's about the trading that's crucial. So we could go and buy a player. So we would have gone and bought Mark Gay had they agreed a deal, and we'd have paid whatever we paid. Eddie Howe did say it was nowhere near any of the 70 million that was being quoted in the summer. It was actually significantly less, around the 50-55 million pound mark, which seems a little bit more realistic if that was the case. But we had the money to put down there. We weren't selling anybody, so we can do it. But it's all to do with balancing the books. So getting money in makes it easier for us to sell, and it means effectively that we have more money for next summer to spend. That's kind of how I think it's working. But it goes back to my point. There's no reason why we can't go and get a loan player in. There's no reason why we can't go and do it. Less expenditure, and you get the benefits of having that player coming in that can do the business, potentially for 6 months, and win themselves a move to Newcastle off the back of it. There's no reason why. Why not? And if it doesn't work out, for whatever reason, you've only spent a smaller amount of money on that player. It makes sense for me.
It does make sense, but it means that Eddie Howe has to change his way a bit, and he has to be open to that as well, because in the past he hasn't been open to that kind of. We've kind of, because we've mentioned this before, but he wanted players that are totally committed and blah blah blah. So let's see.
Yeah. Now, boys, I knew very early on when I first met him. I knew Fumby was a funny guy. Right, I knew that. And whoever started this comment, very well done. But I'm going to start with Fumby, and he says, I told you West Ham was the team to be wary of. And he did say that. So full credit to you there, Fumby, for that. But the second comment I want to bring up from Fumby, which did make me laugh, was, if Tonali starts and we lose on Saturday, is it still Eddie Howe? that would just bring up that I think heads would explode if that happened, to be honest, Fumby. I mean, Pete, what are your thoughts? Like, if Tonali starts on the weekend and we still lose against Palace, like the Tonali excuse can be closed. So what then? Is it going to be? Are people going to be calling for Eddie's head even more, do you think?
Look, regardless, it's not even about Tonali. If we lose, there'll be the Eddie out noises will get louder and louder. Look, let's be honest. Every game we don't win, every game we lose, we're going to have Eddie Howe out. It doesn't matter.
But imagine he loses, Pete, and Tonali isn't playing. Imagine how bad it'll be then.
Oh, yeah, it'll be an absolute nightmare on the socials. But we could go on a run of 6 games in a row and win every single game, and then lose one, and then we'll still get Eddie Howe out.
Eddie Howe, get him out.
Yeah, Eddie Howe, get him out. I told you we was going to lose. That's what you'll get. That's what you'll get. Like it will always. You've got certain sections of the fan base that just don't want him as manager anymore, and that's fine. That's up to them.
Yeah, no, it is.
For me, I'm prepared to just back the team and hope that we win every week. And hope that Eddie Howe steers us in the right direction. If he doesn't, he'll lose his job, or, as I said before, he'll walk in the summer. One of those 3 things will happen, and And look, that's all on him. Like, nobody's above criticism, as I keep saying, but sometimes it's about looking at the whole picture. And for me, that game yesterday was significantly more on the players that didn't perform or put a performance in than it was Eddie Howe. With that, apart from the formation, I think the players need to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know if you saw the press conference after the game, Chris. Not the one for Sky, but like his one that he does with all the press. I don't know if you.
No, I've seen it.
He was quite open with the fact that he wasn't happy with what he saw, particularly highlighting the players that came off the bench, not really making a difference to the team. I think he was probably referring more to Barnes and Tonali than Trippier and Wilson. But yeah, I think that's the first time that he started to be a little bit more open in terms of answering certain questions. Like he answered the Mark Gahey one in his press conference before the game. Openly talked about it for the first time that he was a player.
Yeah, he did. He did. I've seen that. Yeah.
But he's playing. He's not playing. He's being a little bit more open. I think showing a little bit more in terms of his emotions and his frustrations about certain things. So we are seeing maybe a different side to him.
Is that what's making you feel, Pete, like this could be his last season in terms of not zero fucks given, but almost a bit like, well, actually, I may as well say that now because that's how I feel.
Maybe. I'll be honest with you. I think the shine is starting to kind of go a little bit on Eddie Howe. The way, not from me personally, but I'm just noticing it. Like, he's been amazing since he come in and the change, and everybody loved Eddie Howe and what he was doing. But I think the last December, January, I think has changed things. But the fact that it's still happening now in November, nearly a year later, and the noises are getting louder. And for Eddie Howe, it might not be necessarily the noises, but it's the performances. Like we were expecting, and I think he was expecting, one game a week, a stronger squad than what we had when we finished fourth. Players now all back fit or close to being there, that we would really sort of attack this league. We might still do that, but we're not seeing what we were kind of given in terms of the blueprint. You got the transfer window, you got Paul Mitchell, you got PSR, all these things that have happened. I think they're maybe starting to take its toll a little bit on Eddie Howe, and he's been here 3 years, and I just see the shine just starting to go a little bit, and maybe that's why he's been a bit more honest and a bit more open, and or maybe it's just him going, you know what, maybe I need to be a little bit more like this. I think the fans maybe need to know a little bit more about what's going on and maybe sharing a little bit more than what he would normally do. I don't know, but I just see the shine going just a little bit. And that might be why I'm thinking the way in which I'm thinking about Eddie Howe. But I hope he stays. I hope he stays us forward. But if he doesn't, we all know what will happen.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a show in itself. So obviously, I don't want to get into a half an hour discussion over it. But Gary D asks a really interesting question. He says, lads, do you think it's time for PIF to step up and take the league and the cartel to court, or financially back someone to do it? For me, it's clear we're being treated as a second-class club. I mean, I suppose to wrap Gary's question up, do you think PIF will do anything off the back of these? The case where obviously the Premier League won in terms of the APT. Do you think PIF will do anything, or do you think they will sit back and continue to wait for other clubs to maybe take the Premier League again to court, perhaps?
I think that they sit back. That they haven't. I would like to see them going all out on an attack, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be in the nature of what they want to do with Newcastle. That at this point in time, it's a kind of sitting back and seeing if things gradually improve. But I can't see it them going on the attack anytime soon.
No.
When they do, or if they do, it would be fun.
No, it would. It'd be great. But do you agree with that, Pete? Do you think it's powder dry time?
with PIF in the Premier League, it won't happen, in my opinion. I don't think it'll ever happen. I think there was a lot of caveats to this takeover being allowed through. And I don't think Newcastle's owners will want to rock the boat. I've always felt that, which is why I think they've kind of tentatively thrown their support in the mix for Man City when they have, but I don't think Newcastle's owners will go toe to toe with them. I think equally, I think Newcastle's owners are here for the long haul. People that are saying about PIF, not being interested or showing a lack of interest. No, they're an investment fund. They invest in various different things outside of football. And so just because they're showing an interest on one thing, whether it's golf or whether it's Disney or whether it's whatever it is, P&O, travel or whatever it is that they've invested in, doesn't mean that they don't care about Newcastle. It's an investment fund. The one thing that they've maintained is that they are at Newcastle for the long haul. They would have known there would have been things that would stop our progression, and it wouldn't be a Man City and it would be instant. But I tell you what will happen is that when we do improve our financial standings, and it will get better. It's just not as quick as we want it to be. When we do improve our financial standings and we're all allowed to spend more as we move along, that's when you'll really see the strength of PIF, and that's when you'll really see PIF show their passion for Newcastle United, because we will get there. It's going to be longer than we anticipate, and a new stadium for me will bring us a lot closer, a lot quicker. Just my opinion on that. But I think that's when you're going to really see PIF show how much support they have for Newcastle United, and we'll really see them put their money where their mouth is.
As well as that, like when the takeover went through, that was probably their only soccer, football kind of interest. But since then, the Saudi League and the number of clubs out there, then the World Cup in Saudi, and their links in with FIFA as well. And there's a lot of things all happened after that, and then as well, like as you said, Pete, once we get there, you imagine there'll be an awful lot more interest. And I don't know how much interest there is in Saudi with Newcastle today, really. I thought there'd be more, but I imagine, once we improve and are fighting at the top end of the table and in Champions League each year, there'll be more interest from Saudi on top of that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, boys. I can't see PIF doing anything anytime soon. I think they would have done now. I think it would have happened by now. So I think it is very much just to sit back and kind of watch it unfold. On the subject of PIF, and I've got 3 more questions after this one, so I'll whiz through them. Tangy Vivid, nice to see you in the chat, mate. Could we even swap Wilson for Mitrovic in the Saudi market? I mean, me personally, I don't think it will happen. But I thought I'd ask you boys, do you think it's something that we may consider?
I can't see that working with Eddie Howe either. No.
Good question, though. Good question. Yeah. So we've got one very deep question. One question that is coming, because we always discuss it, and it's from one of our regulars, and he knows how we work. So I'll put it in the order I feel it might go best. Okay. So again, Tangy Vivid. Do we beat Brentford in the Carabao Cup playing like that? I feel like the Carabao Cup represents our best chance of getting into Europe. So is the Carabao Cup saving Eddie's grace? So I suppose what Tangy's saying is, are we all in on the Carabao Cup? And, is all forgiven if we win the Carabao Cup, given that, we get in the Europa League, wouldn't we, regardless of where we finished in the league? Is that? Oh, actually, no. Is it Europa Conference for the Carabao? I think it might be actually. Europa Conference, Europa Conference, isn't it? But it's a trophy. It's a trophy. More importantly, is that kind of? I mean, it sounds mad saying it after one loss, doesn't it? But are we all on the Carabao?
So I'm going to play out my reading of it. So we finished 10th, but we win the Carabao Cup. It still plays down to a lot of variables in the summer, and I'd still sit. If I was Piff and the Rubens, I'd sit down and analyze everything and then make a decision. I'm not saying that would save him, Eddie. I'm not saying that would be the end, Eddie. I would sit down and take everything on board, but I don't think we should not be putting all our eggs in the Carabao Cup, because that could be over in 90 minutes. Our season could be over in 90 minutes. We need to be playing we need to be all out in both. That's all we're in the FA Cup in January for however long we stay in that.
What about you, Pete?
I don't think they'll be all in on it now. I think if we get sort of to the semi-finals or even the final, if we're lucky enough to get there, then I think they'd be all in. They would prioritize it in the run up to that game, to ensure that we're ready for the final, because it is the best chance of us winning something, because it's almost it's a double whammy, because we win the trophy, the eluded trophy that we're looking for, first major trophy in God knows how many years, going back to the 60s, but also, like you said, we get Europe. It's a win-win. So I do think the cups are more important this year, and I think Eddie Howe will really want his players ready for those cup games. But yeah, I don't think he'll be all in on them just yet. I think he'll want to see how the land lies and maybe get into the latter stages to be able to do that. So,
right. So we've got one very deep question. I love this question. And then we've got one predictable question. I'm going to go with the deep one. Okay. So, and this comes from Cristobal. Really good question. Cristobal says, serious question for the lads or for anyone in the chat. Aside from individual results, there's been great ones and some shit ones, which is absolutely right. But generally, in the last calendar year, where have we improved? And I really liked that question, because I knew that that's how you'd respond.
I've won, and but before you go that, I'm going to point to Pete and go, have you got to the part where Deep writes a book yet, Pete? In our show? No, okay. Never mind. But here, the one thing we've improved on is we don't have as many injured players.
Very good one. Very good one. Yeah, that is true. And maybe we should be giving credit to Mr. Bunce for that. Maybe. Yeah. He will have certainly played his part, I'm sure. But Pete,
for sure.
If you could give me one thing that we've improved on this calendar year, other than the injuries, can you think of anything?
Just having a better quality of player in the squad to choose from. So, having last night although it didn't work out for us last night was a perfect example of that. Bringing Trippier, Wilson, Barnes, Tonali, those four players off the bench. Having someone as young as Louis Miley not being able to make the squad because the bench is so strong.
That's perfect.
Same. And so I think the squad depth is key. Once all those players are up and running and have got lots of minutes under their belt, I think we're in a really strong position. As I said, the squad now is stronger than what we had when we finished fourth. So we're in a good position from that point of view.
Yeah. My answer would be, because I did struggle with this one a little bit, but my answer would be, and it's a bit of a cop-out, but my answer would be the left-back position. I think we've majorly improved in the left-back position, and the reason I say that is because I'm really excited about Lewis Hall, and I'm so glad that we managed to get him off Chelsea, because I'll be honest, I had my doubts, particularly when Eddie wasn't playing him. Like we were crying out for someone to come on, and he was like, "Nah, he's not coming on." I'm thinking, what have we paid 28 million for here? He can't even get a few minutes at the end of a game. But Eddie's managed him fantastically, and he's looked absolutely brilliant. So that would be my positive.
Another thing, like, we don't have, and no offense to them, we don't have Dummett and Richie, but we still have Murphy and Miggy. So it'll transition out in time. Now there's more and Target. We still have Target as well.
I forget Hayden.
Yeah. Isaac still having a good time on that payroll.
Is this last season, or has he got one more after this?
No, I think he's got one more.
He's got 20 to 26. That's absolutely criminal. It's criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal.
Savant. Do we remember the player we had? It was a Savant, and we had him for years.
Henry
He never
Sarve.
played either.
Sarve.
Henry Sarve, that's it. I used to buy him in Football Manager, and he was good there back a number of years ago. But
he was loving like
he was the captain of Bordeaux when we signed him. Like Bordeaux were their fans were absolutely disgusted that we plucked him away from them because he was running the show for them in Ligue 1. And then he comes to us. The only good thing he's done, he scored that free kick at West Ham when we won.
West Ham.
That was
it was a great free kick.
We could have done with them yesterday.
and to be fair, he was drafted in that game because of injury. Like he would have been nowhere near the squad. Came in, scored that wonder goal, won the game. No, didn't see him again.
No. Henry Sarve. Oh God. Blast from the past. Well, anyway, I've saved our last question for the man, the myth, the legend, the spanner, some may say. Tom Dixon. And he comes in with a very reliable question from Tom, as always. Tom says, how many points, boys? So we've got Palace away, we've got Liverpool at home, we've got Brentford away, we've got Leicester at home, and we've got Ipswich away. How many points? We're forgetting about West Ham now, it's gone. How many points are you looking at that now and thinking is realistic? What are you expecting from those, 5 games? 1, 2.
You know the way the roller coaster goes.
Oh no, 4. Is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4.
5.
No, 5. 5 games.
5 games, roller coaster at Newcastle, 15 points. Done. So
He's gone for it.
Clip it up.
I was going to go 12. To be fair, I was going to go 12. I was going to go win at Palace, win at Brentford, win at Leicester. We better win. Better beat Leicester. Jesus Christ. And beat Ipswich. The only one I was going to question mark is Liverpool because that's for me. That's up in the air. Anything's possible in that game.
Yeah, you know what? As it goes on, I think we're going to beat Liverpool.
I think
every year. Every year, I think the same thing.
Yes. I'm gonna say 11 points. I did a little tally up. I'm gonna say 11 points. But interestingly, well, you may or may not be interested. 3 of those points are coming at home to Liverpool. That's my banker. I'm all in
that's
on
your
that.
Christmas.
That is it. That's me. As I've been reminded, we haven't won there 9 years. We haven't beat Liverpool 9 years. That's what I'm going for. That's the one I want. Don't get me wrong. I want more than 3 points off 5. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you take 11 points, boys?
I'm not dropping 4 points, Pete. No, I'm not dropping 4.
We've got no room to drop 4 points. Yeah. By the way, just to let you know, so I did a point away to Palace. I did 3 points at home to Liverpool. I did a point away to Brentford. So that puts us on 5. I did a win against Leicester and a win against Ipswich. That was me thinking.
Yeah, well, you know,
I mean,
probably take that.
11 out of 15. It's a good return. It is a good return. Obviously, it's disappointing. Given that we could and should have had 3 extra points in the bank off West Ham, but yeah.
Claire G saying take it game by game, and we're not logical like that tonight. We're thinking we want to end it on a positive.
Therapy.
We want the lot. We want the lot. That's why we're saying 11, 12, 15 points. We want the lot.
Well, you know what? After that positivity, I think we're going to play the new outro.
Oh,
the new outro. We're going to stick with the positivity.
And we haven't seen this, by the way. This is new to us. So Daz has obviously seen it, but
because I would have tested to see to break the system as well. So that's another reason why I wanted to play it. But it could be the first, could be the last time you ever see it again. But we'll leave it there, boys. We're back during the week for a few shows as well. I don't know when.
Possibly tomorrow. I think they want a panel after that defeat. I think they want to. I think after that defeat, Wolfie was on socials demanding there be a
Blood.
top table talk. So yeah, Adam is very interested. He did the eye emojis on the back of that. So yeah, they want the power show. So we might have to bring you on tomorrow. So yeah, stay tuned. We definitely got away days on Thursday. That's in the bank. So potentially at least a couple of shows this week for you on Loaded still to come. So yeah, stay tuned.
And Russ, if you're watching, mate, we're all thinking of you and speak to you very soon.
Okay, cool. So on for those 15 points there coming up. Turn me on in UFC. Good night, everyone.